Hello everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to my behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Golden Vault, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of keys from the Golden Vault. If you are playing characters Shri, Elowen, Daisy, Tavine, or Vero, the stream is not meant for you, because it will be full of spoilers, but the rest of you are always welcome. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below if you'd like to support the channel. Please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. You can also support the channel by shopping for your tabletop games, CCGs, miniatures, RPG supplies, and more at our sponsor, Noble Knight Game, using my affiliate link for campaign. We use Roll20.net video chat. We use Discord, and for streaming, I use OBS Studio. I guess I don't use video chat. Or, video chat while I'm doing crafting, do I? So we're still talking about Tockworth Clockworks, but I've officially changed the name of the crafting streams to Tockworth's. Did I say Clockworth's Tockworth? I don't even remember now. Tockworth's Clockworks. Hey. Oh, yeah, that's the first time I'll make that mistake. Also, I see that Chris is randomly in the Roll20 game right now. I think you can see it because my webcam doesn't block the whole bottom row like we do when we play everything. So hopefully we just scared the shit out of him by blaring our intro music. I mean, I guess they're looking at, level up stuff for Friday. It's just funny. Or maybe he just left his Roll20 window open, but hopefully that's a fun scare. So yeah, we can still talk about Tockworth's Clockworks. Still wanting to build another robotic defender unit to go along with the Clockwork Defender, because this is primarily, and I don't want to bog the heist down too much with a whole lot of random encounters. Hopefully the players play it smart, and like I said, there's only like a 1 in 3 chance of even having an encounter. And if they have an encounter, you could always rule that, there's a chance they could escape, or if they're stealthy, maybe the enemies haven't seen them or anything. But that chance is supposed to be proccing every time they enter a new district or exit a building, which, if you include the very first district, which I probably won't, because I want to throw an encounter at them like right when they enter, because if you want to pace it like a good old fashion, like disaster zombie movie or something, you don't have dudes right at the entrance. So we discredit that. So the first time they could maybe have an encounter would be leaving the town hall building. So that'd be 1. Entering Halfway Isle would be 2. Exiting the Abbey would be 3. Entering Turbine Heights would be 4. Exiting any of these 3 buildings that are here would be 5, 6, 7. So right now you're already looking at a probably guarantee at least 1 encounter and possibly 2 or 3 encounters. And then once they enter and exit the other areas. So that's not too bad, I think. But it does mean I want to be able to have some fun clockwork battles. I'm still going to have to find artwork for the actual defender, too, because obviously this artwork is not going to cut it. And surely we can do something cooler with the observer rather than just have it talk to them, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe you can grant advantage on allies or something. So for the Clockwork Enforcer, which is something I'm working on now, I took the base stat block of an animated armor, AC 18, 33 hit points, 60 feet of blind sight, and I still left its multi-attack slam, which is already pretty solid, and I'm going to give it some more interesting abilities, the ones we talked about, I think, on last Thursday. Essentially gave it the sleep spell on recharge, where it lobs like a grenade of gas. Because I was thinking, like, if the Clockworks, were originally designed as a security force, right? Like, then they wouldn't just be defenders of the city. They would also try and deal with domestic problems, which involves not killing people, just maybe incapacitating them. So having some means of doing that would be an important thing to do. By the way, I was trying to look up, like, how to build a creature. Mainly because I remember the guidelines from the 2014 book had, like, actual number guidelines. It's like, hey, use these DCs for this level or whatever. And maybe I'm stupid. I know I am, but I can't find that information in the 2024 books. And I've looked in the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Monster Manual for that information. But at least at a glance, I was not seeing that. So there's a creating a creature section in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but it just has, like, here's some traits you can use, which they've clearly just cut and pasted like Slot Host or Telepathic Bond or Battle Ready or Warrior's Wrath, Wild Talent. There's a bunch of these listed. And it's like you can give it, it just tells you how to modify things. Like you can swap out spells in a stat block, or you can freely replace attack damage types with it, which I get that. Like it's, good tips for like modifying existing creatures, but which is what I'm doing right here, I guess. I'm taking an existing creature, but I'm just giving it more abilities. But there's not really a precedent for that. But I do like looking at like existing spells. So we literally just gave it the sleep spell, but put it on a recharge, which I think I like that balance. Where it can fire it lobs a grenade canister at a space within 30 feet. The canister instantly emits a cloud of gas. Each creature within the 5-foot radius, which again is the sleep spell, must succeed on a wisdom save. I gave it a DC 13, so I wasn't sure where exactly the DC should lie, I guess, with this being like a minion level creature and the party being level 5. Is 13 too high? I don't know. I guess I could look at other creatures and see what the equivalent of that would be for their level. This is not a boss monster. It's just supposed to be a minion they face a bunch of times, so maybe a DC 13 is too high. Because I think that's kind of what their existing wizard's DC would be, actually. So maybe that's too high of a DC. If they fail, they have the incapacitated condition for 1 round, and then they get to repeat the save. This is for those of you in case you haven't seen the sleep spell in 2024, which is cool. And then they have to repeat the save, and if they fail the second one, if they succeed, they're over it. If they fail a second time, then they actually drop unconscious, and it ends if they take damage, or someone within 5 feet has to take an action to shake them out of the spell's effects. The other thing we could do is give them some kind of a net ability, which there is a Kuatoa which has a net, but it literally just has the net in their stat. Why is my compendium not working? This is not fun. Roll20 is freaking out about my compendium. I've had to open up things in a different window because it is just not liking it. It might be because I have 2 different Roll20 windows open and it's angry about that. That is not working at the moment, which is awesome. Random encounters shouldn't last more than a round or 2. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Maybe. Depends on the level, I think. Depends on how random the encounter is. I mean, between us DMs, I tend to use fewer encounters and try to make them more meaningful, because they do tend to last a little bit longer. But maybe that's because I make bigger, more meaningful encounters that they last longer and I use fewer ones. So it may be a bit of a catch-22 system in here. So maybe if I did use smaller ones, then we wouldn't last quite as long. So do you think just giving him the sleep spell is good enough? I guess I could. It would be funny to have him shoot nets at people, I think, as a restrain feature. Means I can't even look up the net, can I? Thankfully, we've got another monitor we can use. Which, credit to Roll20. If I search for stuff like D&D, and then maybe it's my algorithm, but if I search for something, D&D Beyond is the second Google choice, and Roll20 is the first. But that may just because I use Roll20 for everything. Ensure attack of the monitor Kuatoa. Death Burst is a great ability to give minions. Yeah, shout out to everybody who watched our Baldur's Gate stream last night. Oh my gosh. I had so much fun ragging on Chris for being the one who started every single combat encounter. That was hilarious. Yeah, because a net it's got a small range. I guess, do you use an attack roll for it? I think it's just a save. Thrown ability, you can throw the way to make it. No, it's a ranged attack, sorry. Wait, is it a ranged? I thought when Chris used a net, it was a saving throw. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the 2014 rules. Let's look ahead to 2024. Bad Roll20, bad. There we go. Okay. Yeah, the new one is you replace one of your attacks with a net, and the target must succeed at a dex save. which is 8 plus your dex and proficiency modifier, which would only be like a DC 10 on this guy. Because the Clockwork Enforcer does not have good dexterity. So if we wanted to give him the net ability, that's also an action then, technically not an attack. So we'll just copy and paste the net feature. We need to give it a range though. Target must succeed. Target a creature you can see within 15 feet of yourself. Okay, so we'll say the Enforcer launches a net at a creature within 15 feet. The target must succeed on a dex saving throw. So we'll say it's only going to be a DC 10 though. I guess I don't have to use its deck because it's kind of weird. It's not really like hurling it. I don't know. 10 dex save or have the restraining condition will escape. So I can see his only his future larger. To escape the target or a creature within 5 feet, it must take an action. Make a DC 10 strength that looks like feeling the restrained creature on a success. Okay. Same net effect. So I could lower the DC of the sleep thing to a 10. What do we think about that? Pincer attack of the monitor Koatoa. I'm going to use a different monitor because my 20 is fucking up here. Let's see. Google search it. D&D Koatoa monitor. Oh, Roll20 is like the 5th result on that one. Oh, I'm not logged in on this browser. Damn it. I need you to stop fucking up, Roll20. All right, well, real quick, then let me pivot to the other window I wanted to look at. So that's what it looks like right now with the multi. Oh, I need to switch its multi-attack also. 2 attacks and can use its sleep gas. No, just 2 attacks. I can't use sleep gas in addition to the attack. It can do 2 things. It does 2 things on its turn. Combination of slam, launching a net, and launching the sleep gas, which is on recharge. So the other thing the idea I had, real quick, I wanted to run this past you all, if you think this is a fun idea or if it's not. So 2 of the party members are currently suffering from exhaustion from a poison that they ingested because the party had to pay a lot of money to resurrect one of their own, and they did not have all the money to do that. So to make them come back and pay, the alchemist shop owner guy forced the party to drink a poison that he would then have the antidote for. And the party manager, or Vero specifically, said that, okay, well, 2 of us have already done it, the rest of us don't have to, which I was fine with. So I was thinking, as an interesting complication to that, we already had 2 of the party members start suffering from exhaustion, right? So, and the person I introduced was Schemo, which is a character from Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And he's supposed to be a very untrustworthy, unscrupulous, kind of works with a lot of shady characters guy, which is kind of why the players went to him. So would it be interesting and worth pursuing if the party, because they would presumably go there pretty quickly, we could probably long rest and level up first, and I probably wouldn't even affect the affected ones again. If we're saying every 24 hours, we'll say, hey, it hasn't quite been 24 hours yet, although it would be later that day. For you to start feeling the effects again and start getting that exhaustion up, but they're still feeling like those flu-like symptoms and whatever, so they need to go get that cured, and they show up at the store and find out that he's not there and it's been ransacked. So cue a small side quest where the party is like, oh shit, we need this guy to cure 2 of our party members. And they have to figure out what happened to him. Now, I don't want to create like a big long quest chain thing like I ended up doing with Troll Skull Manor that ends up being like 4 sessions or whatever. In fact, I would like to just do a 1 session thing, so it would be very, very minor. So they would just find out that he's perhaps taken by the Zentarum, because the Zentarum want to know, like, hey, are you screwing us over? Are you helping other people? Like, what's going on here? And kind of have him hold up and trying to like beat some information out of him. And the reason I was inspired by that is because of the D&D Forgotten Realms Adventures in Faerun, which features over 30... I promise I'm not working for Wizards here. It features over 30 of these one-shot adventures. You can go see the video I made ranking these adventures and which ones I liked. I don't even think this one... I don't even fucking remember now. I don't remember my own video. I don't remember if this one actually made my top, whatever it was, 10 or 15 or not. Or at least, should have been at least in the honorable mentions. But this is Safe House Standoff, where it kind of does what I want to do, where the party realize they have to go rescue somebody that's been captured by... it's actually a Zentarum person who's been captured by another just generic rival crime gang and being held at a safe house in the city. There's really very little story here, which is true of all of these. They're just kind of drop-in adventures. And the party is meant to basically pick up the trail pretty quickly, make it to this house, and kind of have to fight their way and rescue what would be Schemo. The complication here is I was thinking I could use the rivals, or at least some of the rivals, in this scenario. But that would make it a lot more challenging and add an element of socializing, which normally I'm for. But that would be... the party might be able to solve this whole thing through social, because they kind of know the rivals and they might be able to just talk to them versus doing something else. And it's almost... it's a very mundane situation where... and it's designed for level 5. Mundane just being like it's a single, very, very tiny house area. Once the party like knows the bad guys are in there, I feel like they can do all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's windows everywhere that should be like boarded up or something. I don't know. At the very least, all the bad guys should be on the 2nd floor, and there should be like some traps, I think, around. Like I could be able to basically, I just want to use this for the map, I guess, and the idea behind it, which is the party finds some clues in the ransacked shop, and that leads them to this safe house where they can presumably rescue Schemo. Which, the bad thing is, if I do that, that also means that Schemo would be eternally grateful and probably waive off the fee that they owe him, so that would give them even more of a monetary reward, since they don't ever have to pay him if they rescue him. Also, though, the bad guys could hold a knife to his throat and be like, and that could add a whole nother element to it, because they need Schemo alive. So... let me know what you think about all this. If this is a stupid idea and we should just stick to like getting to the next mission and doing some downtime. If this is probably too much for the party to try to handle right now, or if you think it's an interesting bit of a side thing to do between missions. Just because something I feel like we have an advantage of is this more episodic format where the party is going off on these self-contained adventures, and they're all currently in a major city where all kinds of stuff can happen, and it's kind of easy to just craft little side stories like this. So that's kind of the inspiration I had. I'm also not necessarily sold on having to use these Zentarum rivals here, especially since 2 of them were there. They weren't there during the end of... I'm trying to remember. I think Arlo had the meeting. I'm trying to line things up so it gives them enough time to pull this. If I do want to use the rivals, I think that would give them just enough time to be able to pull this off. Or I don't necessarily have to. I could just use another generic gang that's not the Zentarum. What I should probably do is look at the actually Waterdeep Dragon Heist thing and the Schemo storyline, because I think that one actually included some kind of ideas for Schemo to be in trouble, and the players and the party has to rescue him. I don't remember. I have to go back and look at Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I'm surprised this was level 5, but then I looked at the fact that there's actually quite a few minions here. There's a bunch of toughs. The spy stat block is technically no joke. And then the boss is actually a bandit deceiver, which again, I could use Arlo or I could use just a random gang, I guess. The Bandit Deceiver stat block is the big CR7 freaking boss here. Casts Mirror Image, Hold Person, has a Flashbang Grenade. Pretty crazy, which I could definitely make that Arlo, or like I said, I could use a different group versus and have it not be designed. Because in the story, in the one this is based on, you're actually trying to save somebody who does work for the Zentarum from just a random gang. So, and the spell save based on 8 plus spellcasting modifier and proficiency. Yes, that's what the spell save is based on. Problem is, animated armor doesn't have appropriate spellcasting modifier, I guess. So I'm just kind of making that up. It's going to be fine depending on how many enforcers there at a time. Probably wouldn't be more than 1 on average, unless I want to make it a lot harder. The defenders would be the easier ones. No way Schema would give them a paid-in-full reward. Reduce the amount owed, maybe cut what's owed by half. I mean, have you met my party? They're going to be like, fuck you, you need to... Although he also kind of has them by the hook, doesn't he? Because he's like, you need me alive. I could see that. I could see them being like, nah, screw you. Might be the fun for the players to have a non-heist mission to flex their creative / combat muscles. Yeah, the interesting thing is this is, I mean, I'm kind of setting it up like a miniature heist, aren't I? Where there's like a house, they know they have to rescue somebody, they're not going to be able to do any recon or anything, and there'll just be enemies here, and it's a very tiny house, which they could just brute force it. I mean, hell, you can just kick down the door and throw a fireball in there, I guess. That's one way to do it. Although they also don't necessarily want to hurt Schemo. The main goal would be to try to get this done in a session, right? It'd be like, let's do our falling action from the last mission, let's level up, and then let's do this one session event. And if it needs to spill over to a second session, it could, and then during that session, we could also do the introduction to the next mission. So maybe that could be an interesting excuse right there. If I do want them to go hard on hack and slash and brute combat and have it be like just one big combat sequence, which it could be, then that would de-incentivize me using the rival gang, because those guys are all a lot more powerful than rando NPCs. They're like I could scale them up. I had like I said, Arlo was a bandit captain. I could scale him up to a bandit deceiver. They had a scout captain. There was whatever the assistant priest is, the assistant mage. I could scale them up if I need to. The bad thing is the scaling for those humanoid stat blocks, they jump really high. There's only like 3 tiers. So it's like you're either like really weak, or you're like a boss level for the party is now, like this guy, the bandit deceiver, or you're just super fucking high. So it doesn't quite scale for every single tier or need that I have. Schemo say that rescuing him is their reward, because if he died, they wouldn't get the antidote. Yeah, I'm sure he'd try that. There would definitely be a standoff there. Probably having him at least give them like a discount. A discount on it might be pretty good. You know what would be pretty funny though? Maybe they're like, hey, come work at our bastion. Come work for us. I love RPGs like that, by the way. Any RPG where it's the fucking friends you make along the way. I need to play that new Octopath Traveler game. I love any RPG that's like, we're here to make friends and allies, and it's the power of friendship is going to win the day and all that bullshit. I'm a huge fan of the Suikoden games back in the day, like all that shit where it's like we need to gather our allies, whether you're actually like a main, active party member that I get to control in combat, or you're just like a chef back at our fucking home base. Like, I just love gathering allies and friends and having that kind of RPG, but not necessarily the ones the players want to play as, I'm sure, but that'd be kind of a cool option. Yeah, I kind of need to look up. Let me look up what Waterdeep Dragon Heist says. I'm going to put you guys on the splash screen real quick, so I got to futz around with my screen for a second. Hold, please. Listen to some elevator music. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. I have to restore game? Shit. Am I doing prices right? Okay, let's click on restore game. Let's see if this works. It's not working. 20's not liking me right now. Oh. We have liftoff. We have liftoff. Okay, we're back. Exciting times. Okay, so we're in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Does anybody remember where we find Schemo? Schemo! Legit don't remember you. Zentara missions. There we go. I found it. There's a shop in the trade wards called Weird Bottles Concoctions. Then who runs it is a friend of ours named Schemo. He's made some potions of mind, reading for a client. Pick up the potion, deliver them to the god catcher with the orange statue of the castle ward. Get the potion to the lady in the purple cloak and keep the tip. Schemo has placed 4 potions of poison in a small silk-lined coffer. Near the god catcher is Esville Rosnar, the Black Viper. She wears a hooded purple cloak and is seated in the back of a hired coach. Okay, what a stupid quest. Everybody loves pick up and deliver quests in their D&D games. Schemo, do you have any more information on you? Black Network, I'm already 3 years ago with established as Zentaran put on the city. Forged alliances with various. It's just the Doom Raider. Schemo became the master of magic for the Black Network in Waterdeep, setting up a cover in the trades wards in the form of a cramped little shop called Weird Balls Concoctions. He crafts magical ones for his Zent friends. Schemo can add sellout to his credentials. His services having been bought by House Growlhund and the Black Network operatives loyal to Manchun. I thought that was Zentarum. Is that not the same thing? The Rock Gnome uses paper bursts and messages both his new friends and his old ones. Okay, is there an actual quest that he's involved in? There we go. There it is right there. Okay. Schemo World Ball has betrayed us. Little Worm has been feeding information to our enemies. He must be eliminated. Make it look like an accident. Schemo manages to stay one step ahead of the characters. As they approach his shop, they see him ride off in a dray with 5 other passengers and a driver. If Schemo realizes being followed, he casts Fly and takes the air. The effect is dispelled. The characters maintain pursuit. He casts greater invisibility on himself and uses crowds to cover his escape. Jesus. The characters fail to nab him. He takes refuge in Kola Towers. See the Winter Wizardry add-on. Okay. Winter Wizardry add-on. What the fuck is that? Is that one of the... Oh, that's just one of the chapters, isn't it? I actually don't have that. I don't even have the add-on plugged in here. Okay, so none of those are particularly relevant to what I'm thinking. For Dearest Schemo. One of them is that the party's supposed to go get him himself. And then one is he's just giving up a fetch quest. I didn't realize he was such a strong mage, so that would be... It'd be hard to capture him. Although all you'd have to do is walk into a store and cast a silent spell. If you cast a scroll, is there anything left behind, or does a scroll disappear generally? See if my roll 20 works this time. Scroll. Aha! It works again. Although... Do I have the 2024 rules set up in here? This is a... chaotic crafting. Free basic rules 2024. Spell scroll. Doesn't really matter what level. The rules should be the same. Casting, once the spell is Yeah, once the spell is cast, the scroll crumbles to dust. I'm basically trying to think if for an investigation purpose, if somebody walked in and used a spell scroll to cast silence, but it looks like you would just have to see the dust. But maybe you could make an Arcana check and tell that that was a spell scroll. He does have counterspell though. It'd be really hard to capture him. Motherfucker's got fly, greater invisibility, counterspell, suggestion, misty step. What a squirrely bastard. Be really hard to capture him. The other thing I could do, if I wanted to shorten it, is instead of having him be actively captured and the party has to investigate it and find him, I could instead make it so the attack on him just happened and the party's timing is impeccable. So maybe he is in the midst of hiding from the attack, in which case I'd have to build out his shop as a map. And maybe he's hiding somewhere with greater invisibility and he's fucking with the dudes who've come to take him out. And they're just a bunch of enforcers. If I do that, then I probably don't want to use the rivals, though. Is that more interesting? It's a bit tricky to do with the map, because then I have to create his shop as an actual map, which I didn't do last time. We just did it through whatever the main Waterdeep map. It's a 9th level spellcaster, jeez. But he wouldn't want to use any of his big spells, any of his big offensive spells in his own shop, even though it's a front. But he could use... Actually, be pretty funny if they found somebody like just running into a wall or somebody and they've had suggestion cast on them. I guess he's probably got greater invisibility up, though. That's probably what he's concentrating on. Could also make it just in the streets itself. So maybe the team that was sent to capture him hasn't been able to capture him yet, but the party comes across them. That team wouldn't necessarily be hostile to the party, though, at that point. Sure, he can taste test pure uncut Arcana dust. He's in a safe room and they used Arcane Lock on him. Now he's stuck. Yeah. Right, that's what I'm thinking. Some of the... I did mention that earlier, Sylvan, about does the timing line up for the rivals to even be involved with this, since two of them were at the casino. But I'm trying to remember if both of them were there to this in-game day, which was the actual heist day. I know there were two of them on the previous day, when the party was actually casing the joint. I think Enna might have been there, but I don't know if Arlo was. Gosh, I don't fucking remember. It's just that heist lasted too long, and it's all jumbled up in my brain. And I don't have to use the right. I mean, if anything, that might make it too hard to use the rivals, because then it's just an excuse for the party to kind of deal with them socially versus more of a combat encounter. But I mean, they could still deal with them socially, I guess. The only reason I hesitate about now using my safe house standoff idea is because Schemo is actually pretty fucking strong. as a 9th level spellcaster, he'd be really hard to capture. And in fact, that's literally the point of this 5th level mission. It's funny that all these things I'm looking at are 5th level, because the party's gonna be 5th level also. Where the people are trying to capture him. And he at this point, he just like cast fly and just flies away. Silence would be good, but he could counterspell it. The enemies would definitely have to have magic of their own if they want to shut him down, so I'd have to use at least one spellcaster. Yeah, I think one of them was in the tournament. And I think one of them did actually make it to the final round of the tournament. Is that right? That first round that Stacey was actually involved in. After she got eliminated, though, she would have left. But at that point, there was only a couple hours left of the heist. So, yeah, I don't think they would have necessarily organized this. And, you know, we could just use it as a rival gang thing. Or we could just skip this whole idea and it's just too much work for me and just say, whatever, you go back to Schemo, you get your loot, and then we level up and we go from there. So maybe I'm putting too much thought process into it. I just thought it'd be a fun little complication to add to it, since I know the party is thinking like, oh, we'll just go and, you know, turn in our money that we've got now and get our reward. And then I could do a little bit of complication where it's like, well, actually, you can't do that because your guy you need to go talk to is in trouble and you need to help him. It's just a question of, did this guy get completely captured? The party doesn't know, and I could change the fact that he's actually a high-level spellcaster in my campaign. I could make him just like a mid-level spellcaster, and he just doesn't have all these tools available. I guess that's the problem I'm trying to wrap myself around. Also, if you ambush somebody and you do sneak up on him, like, then he can't really do all his things. Like, there's ways you could take out a high-level spellcaster, I'm sure. It's a combination of abilities, but getting the drop on somebody would be certainly a good start. So we could still use a safe house idea if I wanted to. And again, the party doesn't know how strong he is. All right, so question 1. If we want to do it, do we want to have... What do we think is more interesting? Is it the safe house standoff where Schemo was captured and taken to a nearby safe house, which means the party has to A, investigate where that safe house is, and B, actually, let's look at this one. I'm still looking at my preview of Adventures in Faerun. I never bothered making my own. Is that the more interesting one, which I can use this map, which is a huge advantage too, and that's what I was inspired to do? Or do we want to find a map of a potion shop, use that for schemos, and say that the party arrives actually while the enforcers are still trying to capture him? And then, yeah, maybe he's locked himself in a safe house, and maybe he's got other spells and defenses going on, which can create an environmental hazard. Takes away the mystery of it, though, as the party just basically has to fight their way to him. Kind of depends on, I guess, if I can find a good map or not, ultimately. I don't know what map I would try to find. Don't overthink it, trying to connect everything else, just make it a standalone. Yeah. So in that case, let's get rid of using the rivals for this and just have it be a random crime gang that he pissed off, sold the wrong merchandise to, whatever happened. You know, I already mentioned the fact in my campaign that he's literally like a go-to for unscrupulous folks, and you know, he's got his storefront shop, but he sells like things underhanded, you know, actual powerful rare magic potions to everybody else. And maybe something went wrong, maybe he stiffed somebody or owes somebody money, but for whatever reason he is under attack by another group, which we can use whatever NPCs we want. In this case, I mean, we could use the same guy, Yathla Kresh, which is a fucking high level, again, Bandit Deceiver is crazy high stat block. Plus a shit ton of toughs and spies, where the party is no longer has to feel any qualm about not killing people or doing any of their things. They can just go ham. Maybe that would feel good. I'll probably stick to the safe house idea and have him just be captured, so maybe they just got the jump on him somehow. But maybe he's also causing problems. We might be able to play around with that a little bit. So the bad thing is, I think in order to use this, I have to actually add this entire thing to my campaign, don't I? So if we go to keys, I think you have to add like all 30 adventures to the campaign to use any of them, which is a bit of a bummer. What is this called? Adventures in Faerun. Adventures in Faerun. One-page adventures. The intro adventures, the Lost Library thing. So, add to game. Hopefully it doesn't fuck me up too much to add all that. Silent spell was cast over the building from the outside. There's a large AoE. Then the door was silently busted in. Schema was just stuck in silence. And then presumably when they captured him, they would have had to knock him out and then bound and gagged him. Although if they want to eventually get answers from him, maybe they're working for another gang boss. Maybe instead of a safe house, maybe it just is that guy's house or something. He just brought Schemo there. Maybe they captured him because they need him to make a potion and they can't pay. Could be interesting. Alright, supposedly that added them all. So now let's launch it. Am I putting too much story into this? Because goodness knows the adventure certainly didn't add any story. Didn't give me nothing. Alright, so now if I scroll down... Yep, it added just the full damn thing. Adventures in Faerun. So I've got them all in here. So... That's not too bad. Just added... thank goodness for the folder system. I'd go crazy if it just added like 40 fucking maps to my adventure. There it is. By the way, if you haven't seen my review or know anything about this adventure, it adds a bunch of original maps, and then it also added... It used the maps from the new Dungeon Master's Guide, which there's like a dozen or so at the end that are all kind of that like Dyson logo style, and it turned them into various adventures. And it's like, cut this part off or only use this part or something. So it's a neat idea, but it's a shame that those maps are not the good quality map art that they used here. This is not the right one though. Which one am I looking for? Thought it was chapter 1. Oh wait, never mind. I scrolled down. That's the problem. Safe house. Silence, darkness, subtle spell, big hammer, plenty of ways to shut down a squish wizard. Yeah. The trick is always just to ambush somebody. I don't remember where my Schemo token is, but I'm sure we can grab him from somewhere. And I think I'll move Schemo to upstairs, probably, where they're keeping him. Again, there's not really any clue about how best to run this. It just says the players will probably be fighting people like shoulder to shoulder. Yeah, any criminal in the house can shout an alarm, so the characters are likely to face enemies simultaneously charging out of various rooms. At the same time, the boss flees up the stairs toward the vault, leading characters following too closely into the trap on the upper floor, which is a poison dart trap. A session might involve the party splitting up, which, I mean, the map is so tiny. Some chasing Yatho, others deal with the gang and search for Rendell. Track and issue everyone as they spread around their house. Thanks, game. Actually, yeah, your score goes up with Zentarum, which is kind of funny. The door to this room is locked with arcane lock spell, opening only for Yothel, and contains a CR 5 to 10 treasure hoard, plus a spell scroll of dimension door, which Yothel intends to use to escape the safe house. I love that it's like, just contains random treasure. Which, CR 5 to 10 treasure hoard, good lord. It sounds like a lot for this. Schemo's the real treasure here. I don't think this would work for his shop. It's a really weird, like, townhome situation. The main... I mean, we'll see if I can find a map, I guess, of a... I could build my own. There are tools out there in Roll20. I've done that before, where I make my own room based on the building that I need. Is that would trim the fat and probably allow me to run it in one session, which would be the party arrives at the store basically in the middle of the confrontation. So they immediately jump into the action and have to like fight their way through to where, yeah, maybe Schemo's like hold himself up in a panic room or something. And maybe, of course, when the party reaches it, that's when the bad guys have busted their way in. So they kind of come in the middle of an action sequence. Versus if I do this scenario, which is the party has to investigate the store first, get the clues, leads them to here, then they get a chance to kind of plan around and scope out the place and figure out what their best point of entry is. You know, you get to see that taking a lot of time before we get around to getting in there, and maybe that'd be fun for the party, but also that's literally what we do as our main quest, is we do the heist type stuff. So maybe flavoring this as a pure action situation would actually be the more interesting. Whereas in a lot of other campaigns, this would be the bigger change in the thing that I would want to do, which is, oh, let's create a mini heist situation because we've been doing so many dungeon crawls or whatever. So now I'm thinking maybe I want to do the opposite. Maybe because we've done so much heist shit, I actually want to create just a little action sequence that the party can do. In which case, I will have to see if there are any good store-type maps I can use from any resource. I remember if, like, Waterdeep, Dragon Heist, but they didn't really have any good maps in general. Most of these are more dungeony in nature. So I don't know. That's the only thing keeping me back from that one, is I will actually have to find a map that would be like a wizard store. But I'm sure we can come up with something, right? That's true. Yeah. And that's the other fun thing about it, is if they come in medias res, they come in the middle of the action, then maybe, yeah, the silent spell is up, and maybe Schemo does have some defenses that are online that are also working against you know, the enemies that are invading. And I could honestly, but when the party enters the store, I could just immediately roll initiative and have them be like involved in this event essentially, and just start things right off for there, and just what would normally have been, you know, I think that would be them being caught by surprise legitimately, both players and player characters, because they were expecting to just go in and turn in their quest, and instead it's a little bit more action involved. That's a decent warehouse map. That's not really what I'm looking for. 30 maps, and none of them are what I want, unfortunately. I might have better luck just searching Roll20. There's some good stuff in here, though. If it was a little bit bigger and had a bigger like entrance area, I'd be tempted to use this map, but I just don't think it's going to be good enough for me. Not good enough, you bastard. But I think I'm leaning towards using it. I think it's a fun idea to kind of throw that complication at the party. But now I've kind of talked myself out of the easy one of just using the safe house map and have them be captured and have that be a whole thing. Normally, I think that's a fun idea, but because we've actually already done a lot of heist stuff, I think the more interesting pacing breakup for our campaign is going to be if the party actually stumbles upon just an in-the-middle action sequence. I'm trying to think of an equivalent of that. I think that happens at some point. I think in the third act of Baldur's Gate also, there's a couple areas where you like walk into an area and it's like, oh shit, we're in the middle of this. Like the one where it's the paintings being possessed or something. The painter guy, the painter is possessed and he's summoning things. Like that's one where like shit's going on. Like I think you have a chance to walk in and talk to him first, but then shit goes down. Something like that's what I'm thinking of. But I don't think this map is quite going to work for what I'm looking for, which is a bit of a bummer. But we'll figure it out. Which means we'll have a little bit more time until we talk about Tockworth's Clockworks. We've already got a map starting to formulate here. I'll need to figure out what we want to do for our first Underdark encounter, because I do want to throw at least one at the party before they meet with the big gnome group. We'll have Nyx be the one that actually gets the golden key that kind of tells them about the mission. And this will be a unique case where the party won't really know about the location. Trench won't be aware of it. It won't be in the city. It's funny that our first one outside the city is in the goddamn Underdark. And they wouldn't even get a chance to actually do any recon either. It's a really dangerous situation for them and a lot different when they go through here. But they'll still get the map and they'll still have some information from the NPCs about what they need to do in there. And they'll be able to expect, like, okay, we know there's Clockwork soldiers roaming around, so it's not just a complete question mark about what they come across. But we'll need to try to plan the encounters. I think we'll all feel better if I can kind of script together 2 or 3 of those random encounters and have them ready to go at various maps. And one thing I could do that might make it easier also is just have it scripted where whenever they exit a building or enter a certain district, that's where the encounter happens, versus actually just randomly trying to figure out when it happens. I could go back and forth on that, probably depends on which maps I enjoy, because which ones we could use to battle on versus some of them we really don't even need the maps maybe at all. Could be interesting. But we'll need to make sure we get all this nailed down, a lot of the encounters, a lot of the areas individually, and especially those Tockworth. God damn it, I'm going to fuck that name up so many times. Boss battle, because that's a really fun stat block. But I think that's going to do it for this crafting session. Thank you all so much for joining me. I will be around we're getting close to the holiday, so I got to start telling about what my schedule is going to be. I will be here for Thursday. We'll do the same thing Friday. We'll be here, and then next week should also be a normal schedule, and then just going to start getting fucked up starting the 22nd, basically, because it's going to be holiday mode from there. So yeah, thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed the content, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Also use my affiliate link at Noble Night Games. Shout out to Platinum patrons: Joe, Bill, Thomas, Brandon, Genocide, Roleplayer, Christopher, Big Nut, John, Nathan, Andrew, Stephanie, Jason, Lumpy Spuds, Wardy, Middle Seat, Tom, the Eating Dogs, Marcus, Hugo, Sasha, John, Jello Sky, Zim, Jesse, Dante, How About Demnix, Charney, Chris, and Robert. I don't quite have the cadence with all these fucking names yet. Gold patrons: RPG, Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Diddles Around, Jerome, Nathan, Scott, Rufus, Jury, Glenn, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you for more streaming and crafting on Thursday. Lockworth's Cockworks.